Good evening, welcome to NTD UK News. I'm Stuart Lees and here are today's top stories. The Conservative Party wins the by-election in Hartlepool, and it's the first time this constituency turns blue. The government is set to scrap mask wearing in secondary school classrooms from May the 17th. And a prestigious London university warns its students not to record lectures in case they become criminal evidence in Hong Kong or China. A significant blow to Labour leader Keir Starmer as the Conservatives win Hartlepool's seat for the first time since it was formed. Initial results from local elections point to Conservative gains across the country. Here's NTD's Jane Wall with more.
In the traditionally Labour area of Hartlepool, Conservative candidate Jill Mortimer took the seat, winning with a majority of 6,940 votes.
I'm also immensely proud to be the first Conservative MP in Hartlepool for 57 years. Not only that, I am the first woman ever to be elected as MP for this town.
It's a hole in the red wall, regions that were once guaranteed Labour seats. There are questions over why the Labour candidate Dr Paul Williams, who campaigned to stay in the EU, was standing for one of the UK's strongest Brexit-supporting constituencies. An inflatable Boris appeared just outside the Leisure Centre where the votes were counted. Earlier, the Prime Minister saying the results in so far are encouraging.
And it's early days, but a very encouraging set of results so far. And I think that's really because we've been focusing as government on our priorities, people's priorities, bouncing back from the pandemic as far as we can, getting through it.
The Hartlepool constituency has been Labour since it was formed in 1974. That changed after the vote on Thursday. It's a sign that Conservatives are gaining seats from working-class Brexit voters. It also means Sir Keir Starmer will be facing some difficult questions. Jane Werrell, NTD News, London.
The UK and Jersey's governments are reaching out to France and the EU in a bid to resolve the fishing rights dispute. This is after a flotilla of French fishing boats protested in the Channel Islands' main harbour, and the UK sent maritime patrol vessels on Thursday.
Diplomatic efforts intensified to prevent a repeat of Thursday's Jersey fishing dispute. Britain's Environment Secretary says the UK government is working with both France and the EU to resolve the issue.
We stand ready to continue to engage with the European Commission and indeed France, but also, the Jersey authorities themselves have made clear that they want to be pragmatic here.
Britain withdrew its Royal Navy vessels from the waters off Jersey on Thursday, but said it would remain on standby to support the Channel Island. France and Britain both deployed maritime patrol vessels to the area. That's after a flotilla of French trawlers sailed in protest to Jersey's main harbour. French fishermen say they're being unfairly deprived of access to rich fishing grounds off the coast of Jersey after having operated there for years, because they couldn't prove their historical links with the waters. The European Union called for calm, while also accusing Jersey of breaching the deal signed. Jersey says it's following the rules for issuing licences set out in the trade deal. The Jersey government says it's a process.
We've started the process, and of course there are some growing pains, which means that fishermen on both sides had perfectly legitimate grievances that we have been trying to sort out.
The UK government says that the post-Brexit trade agreement with the EU from last year has changed things.
We want to be helpful here. Where there is historic access, we will respect that. But it's also the case that the trade and cooperation agreement has changed things. And so the access that's there and the conditions on that access have changed.
The Jersey government talked to the fishermen on Thursday. A representative of Normandy fishermen says that talks were one-sided and that no progress had been made. He said the French government needs to proceed with retaliatory measures. The French maritime minister said this week France could cut electricity to Jersey if its fishermen are not granted full access to UK waters under the post-Brexit trading terms.
Public Health England labels a variant of the COVID-19 virus first found in India a variant of concern. Authorities say it spreads more quickly than the original version of the virus, and clusters have been found in England. NTD's Neil Woodrow tells us more.
After further investigations, Public Health England, or PHE, classifies the so-called Indian variant B1617.2 as a variant of concern. More than 520 cases of the variant have been recorded. That's up from 202 last week. PHE says evidence suggests this variant, first detected in India, is at least as transmissible as the Kent variant of the COVID-19 virus. The majority of cases are in London and the northwest, predominantly Bolton. Almost half the cases are related to travel or contact with a traveller. PHE says there is insufficient evidence that any of the variants recently detected in India cause more severe disease or render the vaccines any less effective. PHE health protection teams are working with NHS Test and Trace to detect cases and limit spread. Surge and community testing will be deployed where there is evidence of community transmission. Authorities are asking everyone in the affected areas to get a test. The original Indian variant was first detected in October. PHE has categorised 3 different subtypes, all with slightly different mutations. The other 2 are not currently seen as variants of concern. But PHE say this will be kept under constant review. Investigations continue into other aspects of this variant. The current R number stands between 0.8 and 1. Neil Woodrow, NTD News, Westminster, London.
The government is set to scrap mask wearing in secondary school classrooms from May 17th. But some unions and scientists want the rule to stay for another month.
The Education Secretary says the government is planning to lift the face mask requirement for secondary school pupils in England, despite opposition. Gavin Williamson told The Telegraph the government plans to remove the measure at step 3 of its roadmap out of lockdown no earlier than May 17th. According to the newspaper, Prime Minister Boris Johnson is expected to make the announcement on Monday. It comes as a group of unions and scientists wrote to the Education Secretary, calling for face coverings to remain in schools until at least June 21st. They called the measure an essential part of the wider system of control in schools. But Williamson says removing face masks will hugely improve interactions between teachers and students, while all other safety measures will remain. He says the success of the vaccine rollout and the low level of new cases in schools paved the way for the decision. The Telegraph also reveals that the new guidance will still encourage pupils to wear masks in corridors and communal areas.
Now, what's behind some people's reluctance to get a CCP virus vaccine? New research suggests that it mainly comes down to 2 reasons. Some people either don't think the vaccines are safe or they don't feel that they are necessary for them. Concerns include the long-term side effects and the possible impact on fertility. Others say that they felt they were unlikely to become seriously ill from contracting the virus, or they had taken precautions to avoid infection. The Office for National Statistics said that those surveyed were not anti-vaxxers, but had given considerable thought to the matter. Europe's biggest travel company is offering cheap COVID tests for its customers. But with whichever airline you fly with, testing has its challenges. NTD's Patrick Hayden takes a look.
Europe's largest tour operator says it will subsidise COVID-19 testing for its customers. TU Group is offering test packages between £20 and £90. EasyJet, Jet2 and British Airways also offer testing deals, but at higher prices. The government's rules say travellers will have to take between 1 and 3 tests, depending on the risk level of their destination. TU says it's also offering a COVID-19 insurance for all its holidays. Consumer group Which says they have seen an increasing number of complaints over testing in recent months. Many customers have not received their tests from their provider or the results. A Which editor says if testing can't cope now, there's no way it will work in a couple of weeks when hundreds of thousands of people are expected to use the system. Patrick Hayden, NTD News, London.
And in other news, a prestigious London university specialising in Oriental studies is feeling the chilling effect of Hong Kong's new security law. It's warning staff and students that they risk prison for carrying lecture notes if they visit the region.
The Times reports SOAS University of London has told its staff and students not to record lectures or class discussions related to China or Hong Kong. In guidance seen by the Times, SOAS warned that they risk jail for carrying evidence of such lectures if they visit those places. It warns that classroom discussions and teaching materials may be used against them due to the new security law in Hong Kong. And that law is not restricted to the region. What staff and students do outside of Hong Kong can also be used as evidence they have violated the new law and may even lead to prison sentences. The SOAS guidance notes that employing research assistants based in China or Hong Kong could pose a risk too, as they could be forced to collaborate with the authorities.
New figures show that the number of people dying from alcohol misuse reached a 20-year high last year. Experts see the trend related to changes in drinking habits during lockdown.
According to new data from the Office for National Statistics, or ONS, in 2020 more than 7,400 people in England and Wales died of alcohol misuse. This was nearly 20% more than in the previous year. It was also the highest annual death toll for the past 20 years. Health experts see the steep rise in alcohol-related deaths linked to changing drinking habits during the pandemic lockdowns. The ONS says from January to March last year, the death rate from alcohol abuse was statistically similar to rates in previous years. However, after the first national lockdown began, the rate was significantly higher than any other year since 2001.
The United States would not oppose the UK settling its £400 million debt with Iran. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on Thursday paying the debt is a sovereign decision for the United Kingdom. The debt is over a 1970s contract with Iran for tanks. Some believe UK Iranian national Zaghari-Ratcliffe is imprisoned as leverage for the debt. Last Sunday, Iranian state TV suggested that the UK had cleared the debt, which the UK government denied. Prime Minister Johnson said that Zaghari-Ratcliffe's incarceration and the debt were two entirely separate issues. Still to come, the Pentagon warns that tons of debris from a Chinese rocket could crash land on Earth this weekend. Find out more about that after the break.